This is what we are brushing in today. This is an SS10 rhinestone template. I'm going to demonstrate how to brush it in. I'm also going to share my exact cut settings, and I'm going to show you all of the materials you'll need if you're ready to get started with brushing in rhinestone templates. Hello everyone, and welcome to Crafting with Delonda. It's me again, Delonda, and thank you so much for joining me today. In today's tutorial, like I said, we're brushing in a rhinestone template, and I'm going to share all the things you need to know. At the end of the video, if you find it helpful, please remember to like the video, subscribe to my channel, and turn on the bell for notifications because I do upload new content every single week. Now, without further ado, let's look at the specific materials and why they're needed, and then we'll dive right in to Cricut Design Space. If you want to get ready to start brushing in rhinestone templates, these are the materials you'll need. So number one, you'll need a template. In this case today, we're using the Cancer Awareness Template, and I'll show you what it looks like cut out. So this is the SS6 version of the template. I typically use two different sizes of templates. I use SS6 or sometimes I use SS10. This is how the template looks once it's already been cut out. It has the words going around it, and then there's the outline, and then the inner part of the ribbon, and there's the heart, and then I have the circles right here on the back. Okay, so number one, we need a template. I can check that off. Number two, we need rhinestones that are sized to match the template. So now this template is SS6, and I intend to use, one color I intend to use is magenta. So since I'm using SS6, an SS6 template, I need SS6 rhinestones. So I have SS6 magenta that I'm going to use, but I also have magenta in SS10. Let me show you the difference. So this is SS10, these are SS6. I'm not sure if you can really tell, but these rhinestones are much smaller than these, okay? So when you're working with rhinestones, you have to have rhinestones that match the size of the template. If I were cutting an SS10 template, I could use these, but I'm not going to use these for my SS10, okay? I'm gonna use these right here. So I have rhinestones sized to match the template. Number three, I need a cutting machine. You can use a variety of different cutting machines. In today's tutorial, I'm using my regular Cricut Maker, and I'm just using the fine point blade. We'll talk more about the blade in a minute, but I'm using my Cricut Maker. You could also use a Cricut Explorer. Any full-size Cricut cutting machine will do. You could use a Caesar Romeo, Caesar Juliet, or any other number of cutting machines. I'm going to use a cutting mat. In this case, I'm using a Cricut mat, just like this. I'll need rhinestone flock. Rhinestone flock comes in a variety of colors. This is just the blue rhinestone flock. As you can see on the back of this template, this is purple rhinestone flock. The flock that I'll cut today will be purple. It looks like this. It's just a specific material that will hold the rhinestones in place as they're being brushed in. Okay, you can get this from the Baby's Booty website. I'll make sure her website is linked below the video. Okay. You'll need transfer tape, but not just any transfer tape. You need transfer tape that will that will hold up to the heat, and there is a specific type of transfer tape. Depending on where you purchase it from, you might get transfer tape that's called KTM Mask, but if you get it from the same place that this came from, hers is called Hot Fix Tacky Tape. It looks like this, and it comes on a roll, okay? This will withstand the high temperature of the 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, this can be used multiple times. As long as it's still sticky, it can be used. You cannot use regular transfer tape for rhinestones, so please don't try that. It will not withstand the heat. You need transfer tape that is for rhinestones, and not just any rhinestones, hot fix rhinestones. Okay. You need some kind of fabric. In today's tutorial, I'll be using 2 black shirts. One is Gildan, and the other one is a Bella canvas. But you could put hot fix rhinestones on a bag. You could put it on any type of fabric. Okay. You'll need a heat press that will reach 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and not really just any heat press. If you're using a Cricut Easy Press, you will need to apply a lot of pressure because you need to have heavy pressure when you are pressing the rhinestones. Now, on Eve's rhinestones, she suggests pressing them for 12 seconds. I typically press mine on 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 seconds, okay? So that is that. You'll need a way to brush the rhinestones in. Now, you could go 2 different ways. I purchased these from Lowe's or Home Depot in the paint department. You'll see that I'll use this to brush the rhinestones in. However, when I'm brushing in SS6 rhinestones, I like to use this smaller brush. It does do a really good job of getting the rhinestones brushed into the holes, okay? You'll need something that's called a wax pen. Wax pens are useful in flipping the rhinestones over when you're brushing them in and they're not facing the right direction. You can purchase these from Amazon. You can also purchase these from Eve's website. This is kind of like a one-stop shop. You can get the rhinestones there, the flock, the transfer tape. There are multiple, she pretty much has everything. You can even get the wax pen from her website, or you can get them from Amazon. You'll need a template mat to store the template. So right now, my template is already cut and it's on a template mat. Eve sells these on her website. These are my favorite mats. Let me show you what they look like. They come in a package of 10 and they are sized at 15 by 15. This is what they look like. And you can use both sides. Ideally, when you cut a rhinestone template, you only have to cut it one time and then you store it away for when you need to cut, a brush in another template. So the excellent thing about these is that they're really big. And like I said, you can use both sides. Okay. So now we have all of the materials. We know why everything is used. Now let's get into the tutorial of how to cut a template and cut settings that I recommend if you're having a hard time or if this is your first time. Okay, let's move over to Cricut Design Space. Before we go into Cricut Design Space, let me show you what comes in the SS10 bundle. You get 3 separate files. You get this one is not showing up, but you'll see it once you bring it into Cricut Design Space. You get the actual rhinestone template that is sized at 10.881 by 10.806. You also get the SVG cut file if you're making this for someone who does not like rhinestones or someone who's not into rhinestones. And then I've also gone into the listing and I've added a ribbon that does not have the heart cut out with the rhinestone template. Let me show you how to use the file in Cricut Design Space. Let's go there now. Okay, so I'm going to go to Cricut Design Space, and what I like to do is just use Cricut Design Space the regular old way. I don't really want to use the template. So I'll click on New Project. I'll go to Blank Canvas, and I'll know that all this stuff is going to open up. I'll close that. I'll click on Upload, and I'll upload the files. The first one is the template. It looks like this. And I'm going to make sure that it comes in at the right size, which is a width of 10.881. So I'll click the unlock proportion right here, and I'll make sure my width and height match the size of the file. So 10.881, and the height should be 10.806. That's perfect. Now, I'm not going to use the template that has the heart included. I'm going to use the one that does not. So let me show you what I'll do. I'll click right here on Upload. I'll go back and I'll upload the other part of the template, the additional ribbon basically. And I'll bring it over here. Now this is the ribbon I'm going to use instead of this one. So what I'll need to do over here is go over to the layers panel, and I can see there's an arrow right here. I'll click the arrow and I'll delete this ribbon from inside. So I'll click right here and I'll click delete. I'll click here, I'll click delete. I'll take this ribbon and just bring it over. Okay. I also need to make sure this one comes in at the right size. The size of this ribbon is 4.162 by 7.148. That's already correct. So I'll select let me undo that. I'll select everything on the canvas and I will click the option to align, and I just want it to be centered. Now this kind of looks like it's not centered. It looks like these rhinestones are touching right there. So what I'll do with this is just kind of bring it up. I don't want it to be like that. Okay, and I think that looks great. Now, if I want to cut specific layers on one piece of rhinestone flock, this is where I would be making that decision right now. So what I would do is, let's just say I want the words to be pink and I want the inside of the ribbon to be pink. I would go over here and I would right click and I would click ungroup. And for the words, I would change the color of them to pink. Okay, so, and then for the outline of the ribbon, let's say I want the outline of the ribbon to be black, and I want let's say I want the circles to be black also. Let's see. So here are the circles. I can just change that to black. So when I get ready to click make, I'm only going to be cutting 2 layers instead of 4. All right, so now since it didn't group it the way I wanted it to, I'll group it myself. So I'll select the circles and I will hold my shift key and I'll select the outline and I will attach those. And then these 2 layers, the inside of the ribbon and the words, I will attach those and I will click make. Okay, and I can move this over and down, and let's see, I can move this over and down. I'll click continue. And I'll just use the heavy cardstock setting. I'm not going to use more pressure, and I will get everything loaded onto the mat. Everything I'll do from here will be back on the camera. Okay, before we get started with cutting, let me just share my opinion about the right blade. I do not recommend using these types of blades when you're cutting rhinestone templates. I do not recommend the regular fine point blade. The blade that I recommend is the premium fine point blade, and it doesn't come 2 in a pack. It only comes with 1 in a pack. You'll know if you're using the premium fine point blade if your blade is gold, not silver. So these are the older blades. If you look at my blade, you'll see that it is gold. You can take this out. See that? So I do not recommend these. I recommend these. I will make sure it's linked below the video. Before I start cutting templates, I typically just punch the blade through a piece of foil. It's kind of clean off any of the adhesive or anything that's still on the blade. I have not replaced this blade in a very long time, probably over a year now, maybe even longer. Okay, so these are the blades, just my regular premium fine point blade. If you find them in the 2-pack, that's not the right one. All right, with my flock, I'm going to just place it on the mat face up, and I'm making sure that I have it in a place that will completely cover the area that I need for the template to be cut. Okay. So that looks pretty good. All right, remember I'm using heavy cardstock default pressure. All right, let's take a look at it and see how it cut. I kind of already peeled it back, but I want you to see. So this is how it's supposed to look. Let me zoom in so you can really see it. When you cut a rhinestone template, it's supposed to cut the holes perfectly, and it looks like it did. This actually looks really, really good. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and remove the mat from the machine. I'll insert the next mat, and while the other part of the template is being cut, I'll start to brush this one in so we can save time. So here I am inserting my next mat. For this project, I only need 2 mats, and this is where the template mat comes into play. So I'm going to remove the top layer of the flock and place the template on top of the mat. This will give me an opportunity to save the template so I don't ever have to cut it again. Now that I have it secured to the template mat, I'll start to brush in this shaved ice strawberry. Remember, the template that I'm using is SS10, so the rhinestones also have to be SS10. I'll pour a generous amount of rhinestones all over the template, and I'll use that blue brush that I purchased from Lowe's to brush the rhinestones in. There is not really a rhyme or reason about how to brush them in. You just keep brushing until all of the rhinestones are face up in the holes. Also, it's important to keep the lid on the rhinestones as they're being brushed in. It's so easy to knock the container off the table. Trust me, I've done it, and I know several others who have done it, and it's no fun trying to pick those rhinestones up. It doesn't matter if you have carpet or tile, it's just no fun. So make sure you put the lid on the container and that you also replace the rubber band that comes with the container. So here I'm just brushing them in. Like I said, no rhyme or reason, and I'm just making sure all of the rhinestones are face up. Now that my template is brushed in for the most part, I'm using the wax pen to pick up any extras, and I'm also just carefully going over the template to make sure there are no doubles, and I'm making sure that none of the rhinestones are flipped over. Once I check this, I'll clean up the rhinestones and get the transfer tape to transfer the rhinestones to the fabric. This part right here is where I have the transfer tape. I'm going to carefully place the transfer tape on top. This is not easy for people, especially for the first time. So take your time with this, place it down, and don't hesitate. I already have my first layer. I'm going to press this on 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 seconds. Don't forget to pre-press the shirt. I pre-pressed my shirt and I have a crease down the middle. I did a 10-second pre-press, and now let's look at this first layer, and then we'll go back to the table and brush in the second layer. But this is how the first layer looks, and yes, I already love it. Okay, since the second layer is finished, I'm going to go ahead and remove it from the machine and take a look at it, and I'm going to add the template to the other side. So here's the first side that I've already pressed on the shirt. I'm going to turn the template over and place this here. So a lot of this is excess, but I'm not going to cut it away. It's perfect. I'm going to use silver peridot for this side. Quickly get that brushed in. I'm using that same piece of transfer tape that I used previously, and I will add this to the shirt that I've already pressed with the first layer. Back at the heat press, this is what the back should look like. Make sure all the rhinestones are flat and facing the right direction. I'm just going to layer it on top of the other layer that's already there. Now, I'm not placing the rhinestones on top of the other rhinestones. I'm going to move my shirt as I need to make sure the layers fit the way they're supposed to. I'm going to press this on 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 seconds. Okay, so this is always my favorite part of any tutorial. This is going to be the reveal. I'm gonna peel this off, and it looks so pretty. This is my finished shirt, and you already know I'm going to say I love it. This is how it looks, and yes, I love it. I think it's gorgeous with that silver peridot. It's not a color that I use often. I don't know if you could tell, but my container was quite full. Hopefully you did find this tutorial helpful. If you did, please remember to like the video, subscribe to my channel, and turn on the bell for notifications because I do upload new content every single week. Thank you so much for joining me today, and thanks for watching. Bye.